This training will focus on enrolling clients into coordinated entry in HMIS and entering their vulnerability assessments into the system. Remember that clients must be enrolled in the CE project as well as having assessment data entered in order to be included in the coordinated entry by name waitlist. It's assumed that you already know how to log in, how to do a client search correctly to avoid duplicate client entries, how to enter data as, and how to set backdate mode. Enter data as should be set as the project into which you are entering the client, in which case, coordinated entry. I have to shadow a system user in order to be able to demonstrate, and so I am shadowing Cassie Danzel. I have already set my EDA to coordinated entry. I have opened the client already, and I have set my backdate mode to 12/1/2023. I'm setting the backdate mode because this client was assessed on 12/1/2023, and we want the information to be entered as of the date it was gathered. This date is what allows the person's length of time on the by name list to be accurately calculated. When you set the backdate mode, you will see the yellow lines at the top of the screen. That's how you know you have set your backdate. It's always a good idea to first go to the Client Profile tab to make sure that the information on the client record and client demographics will be correct and accurate. To add or edit information, click on the pencil edit icon. And if any changes need to be made on the client record, this is the place to do it. When you're finished, click Save. In client demographics, there are some changes because of the 2024 HUD HMIS data standards. The categories of race and ethnicity have been combined into a single category, and a new option has been added for Middle Eastern or North African. Additionally, multiple responses can be selected by holding down the Control key and then clicking on whatever choices you make. If your selected ethnicity or race does not appear in the list, you can write it in on the line below where it says additional race and ethnicity detail. Similarly, gender answers have changed. The option for multiple answers exists in this category as well. You can select more than one by holding down the Control key. If the client response is different identity, please indicate on the line below through manual entry what the name of the different identity is. When finished with client demographics, click Save. Now click on the Entry Exit tab. From here, click on Add Entry Exit. You will see that the provider or project name coordinated entry has already populated because that's how you are entering data as. The project start date has also auto-populated because you have set the backdate mode. The only thing to remember is that for project type, you must select HUD. Then click Save and Continue. Data regarding date of birth, race, and ethnicity, and gender pull from the client profile into this project entry. However, there are some questions that do require a response. Note that relationship to head of household is in bold text and has an asterisk beside it. That signifies that the question must be answered. Individuals are considered to be self or head of household. There are two new data categories here as well. Sexual orientation accepts one answer only. If the response is other, please indicate what the other sexual orientation is on the line provided. This is also a manual entry. The next new question is related to translation services. Does the client need translation assistance? If the answer is yes, then select the language that the person wants under preferred language. If the answer does not appear under the list of languages, select different preferred language, and then in the space below, manually enter what that preferred language is. If the client does not need translation services, the answer should be no. The question about disabling condition is really a yes or no question. The question will be answered specifically according to disability type in the assessment itself. Enrollment COC will always be MA 503. And then all these questions about prior living situation are the same data elements that are used in every HUD program. There's nothing new there. There is another element, however, that is new, which is called current living situation. And this must be done for coordinated entry every time you have contact with the client. So we click the add button. As you notice, the start date auto-populates because you have already set your back date. End date is not really pertinent here. You can add information date for your own records if you like. You have to manually enter that. Current living situation has the same responses available as in prior living situation. So it could be unsheltered, or it could be emergency shelter, transitional housing, whatever. You make the selection from the drop down. The next question is a new one, living situation verified by. This response should be selected from the drop down menu, which really is a list of every agency and every project in HMIS. It's most likely that verification of the client's living situation will come from outreach programs. If you're not sure, you can select coordinated entry as the verification source. See if I can find it here. And then answer the remainder of the questions. Is the client going to have to leave their current living situation within 14 days? The answer is no. That's the end. You're done here. The answer is yes, however, you need to go through and fill out the remainder of the questions. They're all yes, no responses. So it's pretty easy to complete them. When you're finished, click Save. I'm just going to click Cancel to get out of here. But you would click Save, and that brings you right back to this project entry assessment. Up here at the top, this project entry is really called, has been named Barnstable HUD CEUDEs to distinguish it from the regular COC project entries. Now, The screen has been updated to make assessment selection easier. When you add an entry, you will automatically default to this screen, the HUD CEUDEs. When you're finished with this information and you come back up to this line across the middle of the screen, you see that there are two other boxes, one for adult assessments and one for youth assessments. Now, you will know which assessment to use by the client's age. In this case, we can see the date of birth is 1991, which means this person does not qualify as a youth. So you click on the box that says Adult Entry Assessment. The Adult Entry Assessment pops up, and you simply go through the assessment and copy all the data that you gathered on the paper assessment and answer all the questions. As you notice, some of this information has already been pulled from the client profile, like date of birth, and also the interview date has been pulled from your back date. But all the rest of it, go through and manually enter all the information all the way down to the bottom. And when you're finished, click Save and Exit. I'm just going to click Exit to get out of this screen. The process of entering a youth vulnerability assessment is the same. If you need to make edits to either your project entry or your assessment, go back to the Entry Exit tab and click on the pencil beside Project Start Date. As you can see, this information up here on the Project Start Data screen will auto-populate. Click Save and Continue. You're brought back into the HUD CEUDEs screen. If you need to make any changes, oh my goodness, we got this wrong, then make your edits, go down to the bottom and click Save. If you need to edit the assessment that you just did, this is how you access it. Once again, through the pencil next to Project Start Date. When you get to this default screen, you scroll over to Adult Assessment, click on the assessment, and you can make any changes that you need to make. When you're finished, once again, save and exit, and that's all there is to it. As I said, the process for doing the youth assessment is exactly the same. You create a new client entry or a new youth client. You complete the same HUD CEUDEs, and then instead of doing an adult assessment, you conduct a youth assessment, and the process is exactly the same. And enter all the responses you've gathered, click Save and Exit, and you're done. If you have any questions, please contact me at martha.taylor@capecod.gov or at 508-375-6625.